Welcome everyone, I'm Michelle Schumann. I'm the Artistic Director of the Austin Chamber Music Center. We have our festival coming up and I'm really pleased to be here with Tom Kraines. Thank you for joining us, Tom. Tom is with the Daedalus String Quartet and they are an outstanding quartet. I've wanted to have them at the festival for a number of years, so this is really, we're really excited to have you. They are in, for those of you who don't know and are watching this, they are in residence at the University of Pennsylvania. They won the Banff String Quartet competition a long time ago.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was reading your bio recently, and I love the way critics have described you. So I'm going to share some of those fun comments. They describe you as having riveting focus, rockets of blistery virtuosity, finesse and fury, and a thrilling revelation and silvery beauty. So that just makes me excited, just using those words.
It's a lot to live up to.
I know.
We'll try.
That's the only problem with bios, right? People read them before you come out.
Exactly.
So, I've been following your quartet for a number of years now, and what I really love is the way you have such interesting programming and build narratives around various pieces. And for this program, I'm excited because you're playing Beethoven and Janacek and Tanejev and Tchaikovsky, but it all has a very interesting, unique narrative. And I'm wondering if you can just tell our fans a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, sure. So there were two elements, music elements of this program that kind of came together. One is that we love the first Janacek string quartet. He wrote two of them, he wrote them both in his 70s, late in life. But the first one is sometimes subtitled the Kreutzer Sonata because it relates somehow not so much to Beethoven's work, the Kreutzer Sonata, but to the novella by Lev Tolstoy, so the story is that Janacek, lots of names to keep track of here. Janacek, writing a letter to his friend, said that when he was composing this quartet, he had in mind the poor beaten woman, like the one that Tolstoy wrote about in his novella, the Kreutzer Sonata. All this will be explained at the concert, but I guess I should fill in a little bit. The novella, the novella, the Kreutzer Sonata, is basically a long diatribe mostly against marriage, but against a whole lot of things. So Tolstoy was very angry at a lot of things at that point in his life. So it's against the organized religion and the church and societal, the state of society, particularly as it relates to gender relations and marriage. So he wrote a story in which a jealous husband murders his wife amid all this, philosophizing about what's wrong with the world. So Janacek had I guess a vision of this poor woman in his mind when he was writing this very emotional quartet. So we thought it would be nice to connect Janacek's piece with some of the writings of Tolstoy and also with Beethoven's Kreutzer Sonata, which we play in an arrangement that was made probably during Beethoven's life, but we think probably not by Beethoven.
I am completely fascinated by this idea because I'm a pianist and I love the Kreutzer Sonata, and I actually can't imagine it for quintet, but I'm really excited about it.
It's very exciting. There's a lot of stuff that you think, oh yeah, well that sounds like piano. Of course, it sounds like piano writing. I mean, the Kreutzer Sonata, of course, originally written for violin and piano, and it's a really virtuosic. I mean, for both parts, virtuosic. But you come to realize, or I come to realize, trying to play this piece as a string quintet, how much of a piano part it is. How idiomatic it is for that instrument. But still, I think it comes off. It's exciting, and there's something about playing the whole program with this. I mean, we could have, I guess, invited a pianist and had one of our violinists play the piece, as it was originally written. But there's something nice about the same sonority throughout the concert, having the same group play the Janacek and the Beethoven. So, there are some wonderful quotes. I'm not exactly. It's a little strange that that Tolstoy called his novella the Kreutzer Sonata because there's only a few. The subject of the actual piece only comes up a couple of times
Mm-hmm.
in the novella, but he writes some really vivid stuff about the piece, which I will be will be spoken by the narrator at our concert. But so yeah, we'll have that sort of as a closer for the program. But as we were working on this, we started to realize that the real central character in all this was actually Tolstoy's wife, Sophia,
Mm-hmm.
who was viewed by so the novella Tolstoy's novella, The Kreutzer Sonata, caused a big scandal throughout the world. Actually, it was banned in Russia, but also I think here in the U.S. it was banned in a lot of countries, uh, and so you know when you ban a book, of course you make it very very popular.
Right.
So a lot of people needed to track it down, find this scandalous book by Tolstoy, and it's pretty difficult going reading the book, but. So anyway, when people found out what it was about a jealous husband murdering his wife, they thought, oh, it must be Tolstoy and his wife Sophia. So in the eyes of most of the world, the woman that Janacek was writing about, and perhaps even in Janacek's eyes, this woman was Sophia Tolstoy.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I think, in Tolstoy's eyes necessarily. I don't think we can assume that. And Sophia actually vociferously denied that she was, well, she both denied and confirmed that she was. But so we have Sophia kept a diary at many times in her life, and there's lots of letters that survive, and other writings, some fiction that she wrote actually in direct response to Tolstoy's novella. So we have quotes from pretty much most of the quotes, most of the words that are spoken throughout this concert are going to be Sophia's words.
We have a really wonderful narrator for her. Her name is Babs George, and she's one of our local acting celebrities. And she's a classical actress, so she does a lot of Shakespeare, and she's just really kind of a riveting personality. And I think she's really going to be perfect for this. So I was happy that we were able to get her. So that'll be a nice collaboration, of course. And then also collaborating with Amy Levine Sang on cello. So it's nice to bring that together too. So
yes. Yeah. Amy's someone that we knew when she used to live out here in the East, and so it'll be great to reconnect with her.
Great. So let's move on to the second part of our interview, where we have questions from our Facebook fans, and hopefully you can have some fun with these questions. The first question is from Judy Matula, who wants to know, what's the difference in how you experience music you play during rehearsals versus in concert?
That's a great question. I think there's for me, I think it probably varies from performer to performer. For me, there's a huge difference, and it's something that we would love to be able to replicate that feeling in rehearsal. But there's something about the energy and excitement that comes from the audience and from the feeling of this being a performance that we can't really find in rehearsal. It makes recording very difficult because you can't, especially recordings, you do things over and over again, and always trying to achieve that sort of one-time excitement is very difficult. But yeah, it's mostly, I think, for me that feeling of really reaching people with the music that's really new. So it's I think at this point, I think for a lot of us, sometimes that can be, in a way, a negative, the sort of famous performance anxiety and nerves and so on. But for us now, I think it's largely a positive. That yes, we get nervous, but it's a positive. It's a nervous energy. It's a positive kind of energy that we know that everybody is there to hear something, and we're all there to sort of experience something together. And so there's an excitement that comes from that is not the same when there's just the four of us in the room or five of us.
Yeah, I've really tried in my own life to change the rhetoric of nerves, and I try to tell my students about that too, because I think the feeling of excitement and nervousness is the same feeling. Like it manifests like physiologically, like your heart pounds and you get a
Absolutely.
little bit sweaty. And so if you can just change the idea of like what it is, it's
Right.
excitement, and this energy that you want to do everything that you've been able to do in a rehearsal, then it really
Yeah,
it changes the feeling of that too.
it's great. I think in teaching, I find the same thing that I've found for myself, and something I try to communicate with my students is that, you know, when you feel that energy, you want to use it. The thing you don't want to do is just what we all instinctively do is try to squash it.
Right.
Try to say, try to force yourself not to be nervous. And it even gets to the point with me sometimes where I am occasionally so whatever tired or jaded or something that I'm playing something that should be an exciting performance, and I'm not feeling that nervousness, and that's bothersome. Sometimes I even get a little nervous at why I'm not nervous. Why don't I feel the energy right now? But mostly it's particularly for a very exciting and involving program like this. There's a lot of positive energy that comes up.
Excellent. Our second question is from Karen Richmond. This is a fun question. If you could play any piece for anyone, living or dead, real or mythical, what would that piece be, and who would you play it for?
Wow, that covers a lot of territory. Jeez, I mean, the one thing I would not do is play Beethoven for Beethoven. I don't think that would be any fun at all.
Probably the same, probably playing Brahms for Brahms also would not bode well,
I
right?
would imagine, yeah. I mean, there are some, we work with composers a lot, and there are some composers that are really great to play for, and I can imagine playing. I don't think this is my final answer to the question, but playing Janacek for Janacek, I think from what I've read and heard, I think that would have been a very satisfying thing. There's a kind of open-mindedness that one hears about with him, where he'd say, that sounds great, even though it's completely different from what he wrote. Perhaps he'll say, it sounds great that way. Why don't you try this, that, and the other? And there's a kind of a collaborative feeling we get with a lot of the composers that we work with. But Beethoven and Brahms, from what one reads, didn't really have that kind of attitude. Stravinsky either. So who would I have? Jeez, that's a tough question. I don't think I'd want to play for Tolstoy either.
I actually like the way you turned around the question and said, I know that I wouldn't want to play Beethoven for Beethoven. I think that's a good answer.
Yeah. I might defer my answer on that and keep mulling it over. Maybe
we'll ask you when you come. We'll be sure to follow up on that.
Sure. But, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
you now have like 6 weeks to think about that, so that'll be good.
That's it. Yeah.
Our next question is from Alan Anbari. He gives us the tough question, which is, why does classical music still matter today? And what would you say to someone who thinks a classical concert would be boring?
Yeah, so this kind of depends on your definition of classical music. As I said, we work a lot with composers, and one could say, is music that's being written today in that tradition, whatever fully notated music. I think that I heard a term recently, composed music, as opposed to improvised music. Even though there's music in this tradition which features an element of improvisation, so it's hard to, these sort of categories are difficult. But let me talk just, I guess, specifically about the kind of program that we're presenting, in which the newest piece on the program, Janacek's Quartet, is around more than 90 years old. It matters today in the same way. In the same way that literature from that period, art from that period, it's always going to matter. I don't think it matters more than the music of today matters. Just certainly not just by virtue of it being old, but it represents. Let's talk about Beethoven. Beethoven's works represent an attempt of the sort of human imagination, the human mind and soul and whatever to achieve something um, greater, to reach out to more people. I mean, I just recently played the Ninth Symphony, and there's nothing more, it's poignant in a way that here was this sort of bitter, deaf, angry, frustrated man who wrote this piece of such um, enormous humanity and positivity. And a piece like the Kreutzer Sonata, or the pieces the pieces that we get to play as a string quartet, particularly the last five string quartets, are a little bit less direct, in terms of their expression of humanitarianism and so on. But still, it's somehow this kind of music, along with this kind of art and this kind of literature, represent the best that we're capable of artistically as humans. And I think it's important for us, when it's so clear, we get reminded constantly of the worst that we're capable of. And this is a counter to that, I hope.
The way you answered the question too brought up, I think, an important point, which is that it's not easy to think of what the words are that describe the importance and relevance of classical concert music, and we need the music to give us the description of the emotion and of the heights that we're trying to achieve, and it goes beyond words. So I think it's interesting when we try to put things into words, because the words just fail us.
Yeah. Thank you. That's actually that's great. That's something that I actually have been thinking about quite a bit recently. Is just that. Well, I remember I had a literature professor a long time ago who would say, people would read a T.S. Eliot poem and say, well, what does it mean? And he would say, it means what it says. If he had thought of another way to say it, he would have said it that way. And so the same for music, as you say, that it means something which can't really be expressed in words. And in a way, that's what makes Beethoven's Ninth Symphony so easy, because there are words. But when you talk about, and again, this program, some of the words that Tolstoy wrote, I hope nobody agrees with his assessment of the Kreutzer Sonata, because it's pretty harsh. But the words that he wrote about the piece are so clearly, they're great. They're fun to think about and read, but they so clearly don't sum up what that piece is. And just, no matter what we say about a piece of music, it can never, I would say, it can never actually, it can't fully describe the music. And also, I would say there's something, to get on another soapbox, the experience of hearing a performance, particularly I think a performance of chamber music live, being actually there in the room is quite different from listening to it on a recording. And I'm not talking about digital versus analog or anything like that. I'm just saying, not actually being there when the music is being performed. To me, it's the same as what I was talking about earlier. When we're in a recording studio playing, we miss the audience. And when an audience is at home listening on their earbuds or on their expensive speakers or whatever, they're missing the performers. It's happening at a remove, and there's no substitute, I would say.
Well, how exciting! I'm just thrilled about this program. I can't wait to have you. That'll be on July 21st at 7:30 p.m. at Bates Recital Hall in Austin, at the University of Texas at Austin. So we can't wait to have you. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for taking some time to talk with me. I have to tell you, you're good friends with Clancy Newman, right?
Yes, that's right.
You're the Tom that I've heard about for many, many years.
Oh yeah. Clancy's so great.
Yeah. And it's interesting talking to you, because you remind me very much of Clancy, just in the way you speak and the kind of cadence of your voice. So it's just kind of fun. So I'm excited to meet you in person. So that's really great. So
we've both been told that many times. Yeah. That's great.
So we'll say bye now, but just hold on for 1 second. I just have some particular questions to ask about when you guys are coming. So, so we'll sign off now. Thanks again, Tom. We'll see you in a few short weeks.
Thank you. Looking forward.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.